know how to do more with less time, well, you're in the right place at the right time today for Supercharged Sunday as we supercharge your time with our amazing guest, Leslie Boyd, who is a life and productivity coach. And as we launch into the new year, what better time to evaluate the subject of time than right now? So I want to welcome Leslie. Welcome so much, coming to us all the way from North Carolina. So excited to have you today.
Thank you, Emily. I'm so happy to be here. I know we've been trying to talk for a while, and I'm just so excited. I love spending time with you.
Oh, equally here. Leslie is a great lady, and you're going to see today as we launch into this conversation. And she's just a wonderful person. So I'm so excited to be able to have her with us today. And as we launch into our discussion, I want to remind you that our show is brought to you today by Kasuri, the designer of stylish laptop bags and travel accessories, and stylish eyewear to look very Zoom ready, people. So with that being said, we are going to launch into our wonderful conversation today. And our topic specifically is building a business on pockets of time, on pockets of time. And Leslie's all about using the time that you have, not that you wish you had. So without further ado, Leslie, I need you to take it away and reveal the mysteries to us. But first, let's learn a little bit about how you even got to be such a time guru in the first place.
Well, thank you so much, Emily. So I've always had a lot going on. So I've always had like 2 jobs. Even when I was single, I had 2 jobs. Then I got married and had a job. So being married, a job, having a job. And then I had kids and still worked. And then I had second businesses. So I've always found a way to do what I needed to do and then do what I wanted to do. And I realized probably when my kids, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I realized that all my friends thought I was a unicorn. They were like, I could never do. How do you do it all? Oh my gosh. And I realized that I had created a system, but no one knew that. So they were looking at me like, oh, you're just Superwoman. I was like, oh no, I had fallen flat, gotten up, fallen flat again, and had to come up with a system to make it work because I was not willing to sacrifice not being able to do all the other things I wanted to do or sacrifice my family time or all those things. So I created a system, and you know what good girlfriends do? They share the good stuff when they figure it out. So that's why I started my business. I was doing goal and accountability coaching because people always said, just tell me, what do I need to do? Just tell me. And I realized it wasn't just about that. It was the balance between the two. And when I use the word balance, I don't mean equal. I mean what works for you in the moment and the time, because balance could mean at this given time, I have family time that this is, and I can do this, and then vice versa. So balance is what works for you and makes you happy on the inside. So that's a little bit about me. And so the first thing, I know you don't talk about the very first thing, if you want to control your money, if you want to get healthier with your diet, you have to know what you're starting with. So I always say that we need to work with the time that we have and not the time that we wish we had. Because here's the thing, we all have 168 hours. People say, I'll find more time. I'm never going to be able to find you more time, but I can find you ways to utilize the time that you have. And that doesn't mean that you're on the hamster wheel. It doesn't mean that you hustle. It doesn't mean that you don't do things. That's not the point, but we've got to understand the time that we have. So the first thing is you got to do a time audit. And I know nobody wants to do a time audit, just like nobody wants to do a budget. But when you track your time for like a day or two, and you see where your time is going, how long it takes you to do things, when you're the most optimum, it gives you so much information. Because we fool ourselves. Our brain will say, you don't have enough time. We wake up in the morning, I don't have enough time. Well, you might have enough time, or you might not have enough time. I always tell this story. I have a client who single, has no kids, lived by herself, and she would beat herself up. She worked a 9 to 5 and she had a side business. And she said, I should be doing more. I have all the time in the world. And I had her do a time audit. And it's part of her, what works for her. She likes to spend time with kitties. She likes to spend time with yoga and recharge. Those are things that are necessary. And when she did all that, she said, wow, I don't really have as much time as I thought I had. So she was beating herself up over time that she didn't even have. And so nobody has time for all of that. So doing the time audit tells us when you're the most optimum. Are you a morning person? Are you a night person? How long does it take for you to transition? Like, it's just like when I did my food budget years ago. I would say, oh, I'm only going to spend $200 a week. Really, I spend $350. So I needed to let that go, and I needed to be realistic. So the first way to be realistic with your time is to actually see how much time you have, how much time it takes you to transition from time A to time B. Are we trying to have our time like a robot? 9 to 9:30, I'm going to check email. 9:30. Well, do you really go from checking email to something else? No, you need some buffer time, putting in white space in your budget, time to go from point A, time to go to the bathroom. Like when you have in your schedule, it sounds, time to eat lunch, time to take those walks. And so having a time audit will really show you what time you have. And so I always say you come up with your baseline time. If the world was on fire and everybody in your house was sick, could you commit to 3 hours a week? Could you find 3 hours a week? Then that's where we start. And that's your good goal. Then you have your better goal. Maybe it's 5 hours a week. And your best goal is maybe 9 hours. And that gives you a range, because we're not trying to make you into a robot, but we're trying to see what works, and having that grace, that ebb and flow. So if you have that minimum, then you know you can work that in. Immediately takes the pressure off of you. Just immediately takes the pressure. And I love that. And so what that does is it keeps us from making these lists with 40 hours worth of stuff and we only have 10 hours. We set ourselves up in the very, very beginning for failure when we're not realistic. We always talk about realistic goal setting, right? You say your goals got to be smart and they've got to be this, that, and the other thing, but what about our time? We really have to set our goals with the time that we have, because if you make a list and you don't achieve it, the first day you're just going to move the list over. You're going to keep Groundhog Day in your list, but eventually you're going to give up. You're gonna be like, what's the point? I'm not getting anything done. I don't know what's going on, because you've already set yourself up. But if you put less is more. We've always heard less is more. Less on the list, more gets done, and the more we can do the next day. And it doesn't mean we do twice as much. It just means we keep the momentum. Because if you do 3 tasks a day for 5 days, because have Saturday and that's 15 tasks. People are like, but at the end of the month, that's 60 things to move you closer to your business, move you closer to a goal in your life, whatever it is. That's the first thing. You have to get realistic with the time that you have and not with the time that you wish you had.
So
that's my first point.
And that's a big point. There's quite a few things to unpack from that for sure, but it's an excellent launch point for absolutely. So how do we go about even doing a time audit in the first place? And how do we do that?
So the first thing you do is I say, take a typical day. Don't take a day where you're going to be crazy, but just take a typical day. And from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed, you write everything you do from 8 to 8:15. I check emails from 8:15, 8:30. I took a walk. You write down every single thing. And I like to do it 1 or 2 days because no 2 days are the same. And really write down everything that you did. And you gain a whole lot. You see where your time goes. You see what time of day you like to do certain things. And what that will do is when you go to organize your schedule, you will know, ooh, I like to do hard things first. Ooh, I like to put off certain things, or I get a burst of energy in the afternoon. And so what that does is it really shows you when you like to work. It also shows you when you start to have like the downtime. Low, you can do 1 or 2 things. You can pick your relaxing time or the things that don't take a lot of brain power, or you can, do those mindless tasks, or do nothing at all. It depends. But that way you can set your day up to match your energy instead of force feeding yourself to do X, Y, and Z. That's how you do an audit and why it's important.
That is really powerful, Leslie, when you talk about to set up your day to match your energy and kind of being aware of. So when you're doing the time audit, not only are you, as you're saying, acknowledging the things that you're doing, but also how you feel throughout the day as well, right? So it is
absolutely,
that is really very important. So once you start with that, you got your time audit going, then what do we do?
And then I always say with my clients and people that we have to get our minds right first. We have to have that intentional time management mindset. And it really is a mindset, and it's honoring the commitment that we make ourselves. So you all know we go to the doctor, and now they tell you to be there 15 minutes early. So you're there 15 minutes early, and 30 minutes goes by, and they haven't come out to get you. You're mad because you're like, my time is valuable. You told me to be here 15 minutes early. And so that kind of commitment that we want out of others when it comes to our time, we have to have for ourselves. If we say that we're going to commit 2 hours on this project, are we making that same commitment to ourselves that we want others, or that we make? If I told you, I said, Emily, I'm going to be here at 4 o'clock. I was here for you. Do I show up for myself the same way that I show up for you, or the way I want others to show up for me? And that is huge when it comes to mindset. Looking at it as, why are we putting ourselves last? And sometimes as women, we do that. We'll put ourselves last. And that's what we cannot do. Honor that commitment we make to ourselves. That's number one. And number two is, when we are working, we all have choices as to what we do. And so a lot of times when we're working on a task or in a project, we're like, well, we're working on this, which means we're not doing that. It's always like a tug of war. Well, if I'm not doing this, then I'm doing that. No, we choose. If we're doing this, we are choosing to do this right now. Period. It is the end of a sentence. And then if we're choosing to do that, it's another thing. So instead of looking at time as, that's when we don't control our time. When our time controls us, we're all over the place. But when we control our time, we make conscientious choices on how we spend it, and we are okay with that. And we should only be spending time on the things that support our overall goals. Now, we have to do the dishes and we have to vacuum. I know it's not fun, those little chores, but when you look in the grand scheme of things, when you set out your strategic plan for the year, the 90 days, if what you're doing doesn't support that, even if it's mind, body, spirit work, then you shouldn't be doing it. And you should look at that choice and kind of evaluate and reevaluate. So that mindset's super important.
It seems like, Leslie, it takes so much discipline, clearly, to do this, and cultivating the discipline. So you may know like the mechanics, do your audit, be aware of this, honor your commitment, but that is a disciplined practice. So how do you even cultivate the discipline to do that? Because no one's going to punish you if you don't do it, or hold you accountable, if you will, in a way that you would be to someone else. So how do we bridge that gap there?
The way that we do that, and this is one of my favorite questions. It's because everything that we do should be outcome based. Like if we plan our goals, 90 days, what is it that we want? Like, what is the goal? And it's not just about the goal that we want, it's how do we want the goal to make us feel? When we always say it's not about the thing, how will the thing make us feel? How will it enrich our lives? How will it enrich the lives of others? And when you to get to that outcome and keeping your eye on the prize, every day I wake up and I read my life vision statement, the reason why I'm doing everything that I am. And then when I'm working on my task, it's not about this one thing I don't want to do. It's a culmination of all of that that's going to get me to the outcome. That's what your discipline and your motivation, because you don't wake up every day like, oh, I can't wait to get started. Woo, you just don't. And that rah-rah motivation will only take you so far. That's why you see in January, the people that go to the gym all the time, in January, everyone goes to the gym. And they're like, oh, but by February, Valentine's Day, all the candy comes out, they're all gone because the newness and the motivation. I have a story for that. I've always been a small frame person, but my fat's always gone to my belly. So after I had my 2 kids, I had more fat in my belly. And, that's where the cortisol goes. And if you have any type of any heart disease. So my mom got diagnosed with heart disease about 12, 15 years ago, that belly fat. And prior to that, I always say, oh, I want to lose weight because I want to be in a size, whatever pair of jeans. It's just arbitrary, just picking out of the hat. But when I said I wanted to lose that belly fat because I wanted to lower, make sure I didn't have blood pressure problems, because my goal is to travel with my husband, is to chase after grandkids. And I can't do that if I can't breathe, if I have heart disease. And so when I made that correlation to losing that belly fat to an outcome goal, I lost that belly fat. It's been about 10 years and it's never come back, because it was more than just about the aesthetic, more about what I thought. It actually correlated to my deep-seated why, because I wanted to have that good health so that I could be here for my family, my grandchildren later, so I could take those walks, go on those hikes, go on the beach, because that's what I wanted to do. And so connecting your outcome and your why will help keep you going with your day-to-day tasks.
Leslie, we need the formula to losing the belly fat, like right now. That's a motivation I think we'd all have. Yes, indeed. But no, that's brilliant. Yes. So yes, tell us. I need to know.
Well, I hate to tell you, it's leaning, it's exercising, and watching what you eat. It's the good old fashioned. I know it's not the magic pill, but it was exercising and just eating the right stuff. Because I don't want a diet that says, if it starts with you can't, I don't want it. You can't eat this, you can't eat that, I don't want it. It was all about portion control and exercising to get to where I needed to be. I literally lost the first 10 pounds by 20 minutes a day, running, walking, and then just walking for 10 minutes. That was it.
That is really excellent. And you make a good point. I think the internet kind of cut in a little bit there, but you're saying you run and walked, and that what you were saying before that about how you got into your rhythm. Could you just repeat that part about what you can't eat and portion control? That's where we got.
Oh yeah. So the thing is, for me, I just made sure that if I was still hungry, that I ate more of the good stuff. So I didn't cut out like anything, but if I was like, I try to have like a lot of vegetables, and then I'd still eat starch. I mean, I love pasta. I love mac and cheese. I love mashed potatoes. But if I was a little bit more hungry, I would just eat more protein or eat more vegetables, as opposed to like eating a piece of more bread. So I just had to really balance, and then just working out, really just making sure that I didn't eat late. I don't really like to eat after 7:30. So that was a huge one for me too. So that worked for me, just good old fashioned, and it stayed off.
Again, that goes back to the discipline. So everything that you want to do, whether it's belly fat, anything, increase your health, basically, as you said, that's the outcome. And it's all a disciplined approach. So you can't achieve any of these great things by being a slacker. That's the bottom line.
It is. And people will say to me when I work with clients, they want freedom. And I say that freedom and simplicity is not absent hard work. It just makes the process easier. The process you have to go by is not a hard process, but you have to stay consistent and you have to really want it. Now, if you make a goal and you're not meeting it, then you got to reevaluate the goal. Maybe that's really not the goal for you. I remember my husband years ago, back when we did New Year's resolutions, I don't do those anymore because I set goals. He says, oh, I got a resolution for you. I was like, oh no, you don't set resolutions for me, but the joke is sometimes we set things that we think we should do. We will never meet those. And it's about what sticks with you and what resonates with you and what you want to do. And so it's not simplicity, doesn't mean it's easy. It means the process is easy, but you still have to want it to do it. And for me, being an entrepreneur is hard. Working on my 9 to 5 is easy. I've got to do this, go do it. but I set my own thing, but it's what lights me up. It's what I want to do. So just with anything, it does take discipline, but if you set it up in a way, then you can enjoy what you're doing. You can enjoy the work that goes into it.
So one of the things, I think one of the challenges that people have is that we have to decide what the priorities are. So let's say you have 3 big projects or 3 key things, your irons in the fire, as you will, trying to get things going at the same time and shifting between those. So what advice do you give for the multivariate entrepreneur who is working on multiple things to be able to circulate throughout those different projects without going crazy, wondering which to do first, second, or third?
Yeah, so the first thing I do, even though it may sound overkill, and I do this with my clients and I know it works, is that I create a project plan from beginning to end. I create what we have to do to go from point A to point B, and I write it all down. And I write down all the tasks that go with each of those subsets. So the reason that it doesn't work is that people don't know what to do first. They're just flying by the seat of their pants.
Yes. So they don't. So yes. So just to kind of recap the idea of the project plan and writing out the entire project as you were stating. So you start off with, trying to document the whole thing. And once you document it, then what do you do after you document the steps of the plan?
So then you have the steps of your plan, and then you just go right in order. What has to get done first? Then you do that. And then what has to get done next? And you do that. I think it's not about all the tasks that get us. It's about the overwhelm of all of it and not knowing what to do. You sit down and you're like, oh, I've got to put out 2 blog posts. Well, that would overwhelm anybody. But if you say the first step is you organize the topics and research, then you're like, oh, well, I just need to do research right now. Okay, that's easier. It's breaking it down to that simplicity is what will make us do. I love knowing what is done, what I have to do next, because then when I get the time, I just sit there and just pull the next thing right off the list. And taking that time, even though it may take 30 minutes, an hour, it saves so much time in the end to have it all laid out from A to B. And then one of the things that I like to do is we know us. We know things that can derail us. What will take us off of our path? What are things that will come up that we already know because we know ourselves? We know ourselves. I mean, if I'm something out there, my kids, there's nothing you could tell me they were going to do that I didn't already know that I was waiting for them. My little one used to bite me. She was 2, she'd bite me. I was waiting for her to bite them at school, but she bit you yet. So you know your patterns and your habits. So you can already set yourself up to combat those. Like when I start to procrastinate, when I start to veer off, how am I going to handle that? I'm going to do a Pomodoro. I'm going to work for 25 minutes. And then 25 minutes, I'm going to watch a show. You're going to already think of things that you know are going to happen. That comes with knowing the time on it, knowing yourself, knowing your projects and how that works. And that's how you combat that before it even happens, to be proactive.
So tell us a little bit more about that Pomodoro technique and how you use it. You just gave an example, but for those who may not be familiar with what that's all about.
Well, I like to, the Pomodoro technique is where I set a timer for 25 minutes and I focus on one thing. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, I close my tabs, and I focus on one thing for 25 minutes. I don't look at anything else. It's quiet. Maybe I'll listen to some music and then I'll take a 5-minute, get up, maybe walk around, get a drink, and then have a 5-minute break. And so I normally work in a 3-hour stint. I'll do that like on Saturday morning and I just do Pomodoros because once it gets going, it gets good. But you can do it in, just a couple hours time. Take 1 hour and it's a power hour and break it down. And you get so much done. It's like, if you have friends, if you've got all day long to clean your house, how long do you think it'll take you to clean the house? All day long, right? But if your girlfriend calls you and says, hey, I'm in the neighborhood, I'm going to be there in an hour, you zip around your house and it's picked up within 20 minutes. It's the same concept. It's like you trick your mind. 25 minutes, how much can I get done? And you can get so much done in 25 minutes and it motivates you to do more.
Wow, that is very powerful indeed. And there's so many great things you're sharing with us, Leslie. And I think people just have to kind of step back and see how this applies to themselves, what are, like you say, being mindful of what our habits are and what we are inclined to do. And it also reminds me of, for example, we're building a new muscle, a muscle of time management or time allocation. And just like when you do exercise building muscles, you have to have the rest and recovery time. And so that's also important to build in. So what recommendations do you have for that strategy? Kind of like you were mentioning, like go and watch a movie if that's what you need to do, if that you're, so how does that work?
So when we schedule in, with the weekly planning system, I want you to make all the things that you want to do a priority. Schedule in your rest time, schedule in your fitness. Like, don't make that last. Don't make that, oh, I'll get to it when I have time. Put it in your calendar. I'm going to do this between 4 and 5. I'm going to take a walk at 6 o'clock. Make those mandatory and not when you can fit it on, if you can fit it in. And I put those in my calendar along with meetings, kids' doctor's appointments, at least 3 times a week. I like to take a walk. And I put them in my calendar, because if you put them in your calendar, you don't feel bad doing it. Everything else in your calendar for everybody else. This is where we honor those commitments. So you go in and you put those in. You don't find the time to do those things. You make those things a priority and put them in your calendar from the very beginning.
So do you use a special system like an Asana or something? Are there certain programs that you like or you recommend to people in creating their systems?
No, I don't. And I don't do that on purpose, because people will call me and say, well, what planner do you have? I will tell them what planner I have and they will get it and they will do absolutely nothing. I teach the strategy behind the plan, and then you can take that puppy and put it in Asana, ClickUp. You can put it in your planner like me. I like the paper planner. You can put it in your Google Doc, because I don't want anybody, because we're creative people and I want you to be able to do what works. But if you have that strategy and you can put it in anything you want to, management or true, then we can look at different choices in that manner. But when it comes to planners, I like to teach a strategy, and whatever feels, the last thing I want you to do is get hung up on tech or getting to know something new. I want you to take that strategy and put it in whatever planner system you want.
Oh my goodness. You sound like the fairy godmother of planning for sure. And I have to make a confession. I can't even tell you how many hours I have spent at the beginning or the end of a year in front of the planner display trying to choose which planner is going to work for me. And when I'm done, not a one of them is going to work, but I just spent an hour looking at them. So now I just pick the one that's prettiest and I go from there.
Well, I don't know if you caught my live last week, but I said most of us spend more time picking out our planner than developing the strategic plan that goes.
Yes, absolutely.
And if we spent that time coming up with our strategic plan, then you can pick any planner you want. Doesn't matter, whatever one makes you feel good.
And that's a very liberating concept. And I think that's really important. And that really actually lies at the heart of a lot of maybe even the procrastination, because we could say, oh, well, I don't have the perfect planner, so I can't have the perfect plan. And you're debunking that myth right now by totally turning it on its ear. So, wow, Leslie, this is a lot. As a matter of fact, I recently on a prior Supercharged Sunday, I had Michelle Milner-Iradin, who was talking about deep focus work, and similar to the whole idea of blocking off the time, as you were mentioning before, and really knocking off all the things that could distract you. What are some of the recommendations you would make to minimize those distractions when so much is going on all the time?
Right. Well, one major thing that I do, because during the day, we're human, we're working on something, and an idea will pop in or something that will come in, and our brain will trick us into thinking we have to do this right now. Well, I have a standard that from about 4 o'clock to 4:45, right before dinner time and things winding down, it's my catch-all time. So if I get a thought or I get I need to look on, I'll put that down on a list and I say that's my catch-all time. So I plan for the unexpected, plan for the unplanned. So because most things, if it pops in your head, it's not an emergency, because there are emergencies. That's an emergency, that's a thought that you think you have 30 to 45 minutes where you take care of all those things that have popped into your head. So it's planned, unplanned time. That's the biggest way that I get through with distractions in that kind of way. In terms of, other than that, you just have to, turn off the TV, keep off your tabs, and just start making those habits. It takes time, that you're not going to check your phone every 5 minutes, that you're going to, because you keep your eye on the prize. Remember the outcome as to why you're doing this. It's not because of, oh, I want to launch a course. It's because I want to launch a course because I want to leave a legacy. I want to make impact on other women. I want to leave a legacy for my children. Ooh, okay, well, I need to keep working. That's too deep. That's too big of a reason why.
So as you said, you have to really focus on that, your daily mission statement, your daily vision as to why you do what you do every day. So do you keep that on your phone? Do you put it by your bed? Where is it for you to look at? How does that show up every day?
Well, mine's on my vision board, and it's right in front of my office, my desk. I see it every single day. And I look up and it just reminds me. I have the middle, it's like the magazine cover. That's like the summation of everything for the year, along with my word. And I just keep my eye on that. And I look at different things. When I did my vision board 5 years ago, I had some really serious goals. And you know where I put mine? On my pantry door in my kitchen. And my girls were like, oh my gosh. I said, because I'm in my kitchen 100 times a day, opening that pantry door. I had some serious goals I needed, and that's where I put it so that I could see it every single day. And that's what I do.
Are you at liberty to share any of those, or give an example of the type of goals that people may want to look at each day, whether it's your own or something, the type of goal?
Well, one of the things that I like to do, Don Miller, that does How to Build a Story Brand, he has something called his eulogy. He looks at every day. But one of the tactics that I do in my vision board course, as you've taken, is I say, it's your 100th birthday. And all of your family and friends are sitting around, and everyone gets up and they're saying something about you. What is it that you want them to say? And you write that down. I look at that about every other day. Every morning I wake up and I've written it out. And I look at it every single day, and that's my renewed. That's why I'm doing this. This is like I'm internally mandated to do this, and that's what I do.
Wow!
Every other day, I read that statement. My 100th birthday about me statement.
Wow, that is amazing. And I have to say, some of my viewers may know that my dad celebrated his 100th birthday 2 years ago. He's now 101. And
yes,
when he was, turned 100, and the different people speaking and so forth, and what you're saying is so true, because it follows you your entire life. There were people who are like children of his friends who heard of him, never met him, but heard of him through other people. And so it's really a powerful thing. It's all the people you're going to impact for 100 years.
That's right. That's right.
So that's a great exercise. Leslie, I just think that there's just so much that we can really, I always invite my viewers and listeners to go back and listen, absorb what is being said, because the more you listen to these, the more you're going to get each time. And I know for sure when I go back and I listen again, I'm going to get even more as well, because there's just so much you've shared that is so valuable to us. So let me ask you about a favorite book or resource that you would recommend people read to learn more about how to be more productive and use their time better.
Yes. So my favorite book in that is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And because it is really science-based, it says it takes 21 days to make or break a habit. It's really a little bit more, but it's how I always get into the why and the understanding, as opposed to this is how you change it and the motive. So I love that book, and how he talks about goals, and you can set goals, but what's the process of achieving them, and what's habits that you need to create or break. And I love that it's more about the habits you create and not necessarily the habits that you break. It's about what do you want to create. It gives that I always like to focus on what you are doing, what you're not doing. So I love that positive spin on it. And it's realistic. It's not being like vanilla, but it's about what do you want to create? Because again, it talks about those choices. We are in control of our day, of our time, all of our money, resources, all of those things. And I love that book.
It is a great book. It is definitely a great book and a great recommendation. So if you were to say to someone with all the great things you've shared with us today, one thing that you guys should do today to make that difference, to use the pockets of time you have, as opposed to what you wish you had, what would that thing be?
The thing would be is every night before you go to bed, I want you to say one thing that you're grateful for and just 3 things that you're going to want to do the next day to move you closer to your goal. Because I'm a firm believer, what you do today shows up in 90 days. And if you do three small steps every single day, then at a month, you'll have 60 steps. In 3 months, 30 things a day. Find enough, and that's too many. 3 has worked for me for years. So that's it for the one thing.
Wow. And every night, the one thing, as you said, the one thing that you're grateful for, and the 3 things you're going to do the next day.
Right.
So it really kind of tightens your thought process and forces you to kind of narrow it down. I mean, you don't have a choice. You got to make this happen and cultivate that mindset. Oh my word. So Leslie, how can people work with you? How can they find you and benefit from all the great programs you offer?
Well, the place that I love is I love my Facebook group, because that's where I'm all about community and connection. And I believe that people will work with me if they come in and get to know me. I do weekly trainings on Wednesdays, and we come in and we train, and I motivate and I listen, and you can post. And so that's the number one way. I mean, I have a website, but it doesn't really say. It's just me. So my group is 3 simple steps: plan, implement, and profit community for women. And you come in, and that is the place to be. And you'll get to know me, you'll get to know the community, and build a relationship. And when you need my services, I'm there for you. So I have one-on-one coaching, I have group memberships. I meet different people where they are, depending on your needs. I have the same framework, but we can work one-on-one, we can work group, we can do 1 month, we can do 2 months, whatever it is that you need.
Oh, that's a wonderful resource to have for sure. And you have a beautiful group. I love your 3-step community and how you kind of just keep things simple. You break it down. And I definitely encourage people to join and to reach out to you and benefit from all the wonderful programs and insights that you have, because it is one of the foundational aspects of any entrepreneur to get a control of your time and cultivate these habits. That it's very easy to get sloppy and just do what you want when you want, and that's not how it's going to work.
Exactly.
So I definitely appreciate all of these great tips, and thank you for bearing with me with this internet here. Look, people, we power through no matter what, because we want to make sure, but I will make sure you don't lose anything that Leslie shared, and it will be highlighted in the blog post on emilymchugh.com. We'll have the blog up. We'll have this on YouTube. Please make sure you subscribe so you do not miss any of these amazing Supercharged Sundays with the fantastic guests that we have each and every time, bringing you the highest quality and highest caliber of information to help you supercharge your business, and today supercharge your time. So follow us on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Emily the Entrepreneur. Leslie, where can they follow you on Instagram?
Yes, I am Coach Leslie Boyd on Instagram.
Coach Leslie Boyd. Wonderful. So guys, you'll be able to find Leslie and supercharge all the way through. So thanks again, Leslie, for this wonderful day, and everybody stay supercharged till we see you next time.
Bye.